Flooding remains one of the nation's most devastating natural disasters, just as climate change continues to increase both in frequency and severity of flood events that keeps reoccurring on a yearly basis. Despite the annual flood predictions, communities are still ravaged by the disaster. Looking at the Mokwa experience, as residents are still counting their losses and trying to pick the pieces of their lives again. The federal government had revealed that approximately 1,249 communities across 176 local government areas in 30 states and the Federal Capital Territory are expected to experience flooding. That will be between April and November this year. Already measures are being taken to prevent and minimize the impact of flooding, as some experts are calling for urgent moves in addressing perennial flooding across the country through infrastructure development, land use planning, and community-based approaches for sustainable development. Despite ongoing response efforts, many communities remain unaware of basic preparedness measures and response strategies as regards flood disasters. So how much efforts are ongoing in the area of sensitization on mitigation of flood disasters? What lessons are to be learned and strategies to forestall future occurrences? Our focus tonight will be on the state of preparedness in tackling flooding. And our guest is Director Search and Rescue, NEMA, Air Commodore Kenneth Oyong, who will also bring you situation reports from across the country. Thank you for joining us. This is Weekend File. I'm Ruth Aguele. Let's bring you the news. The final 3 days of Hajj are known as Ayam al-Tashriq, the days of dry meat, as pilgrims continue their rituals with the stoning of the Jamarat and performing farewell Tawaf al-Widda, marking the completion of this year's Hajj. Tokpe Alabi reports on these concluding activities of the pilgrims in Saudi Arabia.
Have continued to stay in Mina, collecting pebbles and throwing them at the 3 pillars of Jamrat, each 7 times, symbolizing the rejection of evil and sin. These days are also characterized by supplication and remembering Allah.
We are equal before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we have come before our Creator as equals to beg Him for forgiveness and to seek mercy from Him.
I feel very comfortable. I feel very close to my God, because from our teaching of Islam, what we are learning here, we are learning something about the last day.
The 13th day of Dhul Hijjah is the final day of stoning the Jamra, and after pilgrims perform the ritual, they are able to depart from Mina to perform Tawaf al-Wada, or farewell.
We have some people from home that call us to pray for them on certain issues. And before we left here, they called back to say that what they did, their prayer point has been met.
I've asked, even before leaving here, there are many of things that I've asked, and I can see the signal of that God answer prayer in this ground.
During the Arafat and during the stoning of the devil, everybody is in the same attire. No difference. There is no king, there is no commissioner, no governor, no president. Everybody is the same.
We are happy to be here, and inshallah Nigeria is going to be peace and is going to be good for all Nigerians.
The 3 days after Arafah, known as Ayam al-Tashriq, hold great significance, including days of celebration and sacrifice, stoning of the devil, and final tawaf to complete the Hajj rituals. From Mina in Saudi Arabia, Tokwe Alabi, NTA News.
The National Hajj Commission of Nigeria has confirmed the fire incident at one of the hotels accommodating Nigerian pilgrims on Shari Mansur Street in Makkah, Saudi Arabia. In a statement, the NACON Assistant Director, Information and Publication Division, Fatima Sanda Usara, says the affected hotel, Imaratu Sannang, was hosting about 484 pilgrims, although no lives were lost. Immediate emergency response helped to contain the fire and prevent it from spreading all over the building, while immediate relocation of the affected pilgrims to a new accommodation has been ordered. Turning to other issues, soldiers of the Joint Task Force Northeast Operation Hadinkai, wounded in action, and of course families of the fallen heroes have received the sum of 100 million naira as a support from Borno state government, following the commitment shown in restoring normalcy to Borno and other parts of northern Nigeria. Governor Babagana Umar Zulum presented a check to the theatre commander, Major General Abdul Salam Abubakar, for onward delivery to the beneficiaries in the state. Abubakar Musa reports.
The combined Chief of Army Staff as well as Chief of Air Staff Idil Kabir luncheon commenced with 7 wounded in action soldiers with sumptuous meals, presided over by Governor Babagana Umar Zulum, Chief of Army Staff and Chief of Air Staff, among other dignitaries, as a mark of honor and appreciation for their significant contributions in the theatre. Even though an occasion of merriment, commendations as well as appraisal of significant breakthroughs and bottlenecks that must be addressed, frontline troops were reminded of the onerous responsibility at hand.
Stand strong, stay focused, and remain unbreakable. You are not alone. We remain steadfast in our resolve to restore normalcy to the Northeast region.
Governor Babagana Umara, who was the special guest of honor at the event, presented a check of 100 million naira for onward distribution among wounded in action soldiers as well as families of personnel who died in the line of duty.
I want to commend the federal government. I want to commend the Nigerian armed forces, especially the Chief of Army Staff, the Chief of Air Staff, for the sector commanders as well as the air component commander, for all the good works that they have been doing.
He reiterated that Borno State government and the Nigerian Army will remain partners in progress towards achieving shared goals. In Maiduguri, Abubakar Musa, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Olufemi Oluyede, has tasked troops to remain united, vigilant, and redouble their efforts towards tackling any form of insecurity in their areas of responsibility. This was in his message to frontline troops of the 8th Division, Nigerian Army, Jejenya Cantonment, Sokoto. Abdullahi Umar Ilyalu reports.
The operational tour and launching with the frontline troops of the 8th Division and Operation Fansanyama is to boost their morale, assess the security situation, and challenges hindering their smooth operation. The Chief of Army Staff represented states that the visit is to celebrate the festive season with the troops and reflect on the values that unite Nigerians, such as loyalty, discipline, courage, and selfless service, which are the foundation of which the Nigerian Army was formed.
It is to make them have a sense of belonging in addition to the various welfare packages that we provide for them.
We have continued to safeguard lives and property across the 4 states of Katsina, Kebbi, Sokoto, and Zamfara, ensuring that more communities hitherto through troubled spots are now safe for the locals to continue with their daily activities.
High point of the Salah luncheon was a visit to wounded officers and soldiers to ascertain their condition and encourage them with the assurance given on their welfare. From Sokoto, Abdullah Omar Ilalu, NTA News.
The Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetekun, says the commitment of the Nigeria Police Force to protecting the country's maritime domain from emerging threats is unwavering. He said these are the inauguration of 31 newly acquired police combat gunboats at the Nigeria Police Force Lagos State Command on Lagos Island. Ese Onwamaka reports.
In an epoch-making event, the Nigeria Police Force, Lagos State Command, Marine, acquired 31 new police combat gunboats to boost its operational capabilities on the waterways. The Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetekun, while inaugurating the equipment at the Force Marine Unit, highlighted that this milestone investment in marine security aims to boost the unit's capacity to combat crime and protect the waterways.
Under Mr. President's visionary leadership, the Nigerian Police Force is experiencing a transformation marked by reform, modernization, and professional excellence. These newly commissioned gunboats are a testament to his administration's commitment to empowering the force to fulfill its constitutional mandate of securing the nation and protecting its citizens.
According to the IGP, the newly acquired police combat gunboats are equipped with cutting-edge navigation and communication technologies for smooth port operations and effective security measures. For the Assistant Inspector General of Police Maritime Command, Musa Grabar, who was represented, described the milestone as a testament to the IGP's unwavering support and visionary leadership, which has led to significant strides in strengthening the Marine Police.
To the courageous Marine officers who will be entrusted with these vessels, you are the front line of our operational success.
The event was witnessed by senior police officers and key players in the maritime sector. In Lagos, SC Awamaka, NTA News.
The legendary high life and folklore maestro gentleman Mike Ejeagha dies at 95, leaving a legacy of honesty, unity, and love for humanity. His unique ability to weave Igbo folklore and proverbs into captivating high-life melodies laced with core values will be missed, no doubt. Chiagonu Aro reports.
News of the demise of one of Nigeria's most talented high-life and folklore musicians, Mike Ejeagha, filtered in early hours of Saturday, leaving within a trace of doubt. The 95-year-old legendary icon of Gwogwogwongwo can be said to have lived out his life, but death usually is a sore taste. In his family house in Abapanike, Enugu, his sons and daughters were seen wearing gloomy faces, while sympathizers were trickling in.
Was a disciplinarian, and I bet you his children have told his line of peace, of unity.
May the good Lord help us to live the kind of life that our father lived. In Jesus' name.
Meanwhile, the governor of Enugu State, Dr. Peter Amba, has expressed deep grief over the death of the music icon, describing him as an unassuming and easygoing personality whose fan base spread across international boundaries. The family says burial date will soon be announced as the state and the public are duly involved in the process. In Enugu, Chiagonu Aro, NTA News.
Meanwhile, President Bola Tinubu condoles with the family, friends and the fans of Mike Ejeagha, one of Nigeria's greatest folklore musicians in the Igbo language, who passed on to eternity on Friday at 95. President Tinubu notes that he used his music and distinctive storytelling style to preserve and project Igbo culture and customs. He commends the Enugu State government for honoring the music icon while still alive. Also, President Bola Tinubu extends heartfelt condolences to Senator Smart Adeyemi on the passing of his beloved mother, Princess Victoria Oyeyemi Adeyemi. In a statement through his special advisor, Information and Strategy, Bayo Onanuga, the president pays tribute to the late matriarch and prays for the peaceful repose of her soul and for Almighty God to grant comfort to her bereaved family and friends. In a related development, President Bola Tinubu commiserates with the family and friends of boxing legend Obisia Nwakpa, who died at 75. Nwakpa represented Nigeria at the 1972 Summer Olympics, competing in the light welterweight division. President Tinubu notes that the legendary boxer and coach will be remembered for the honor he brought to the country in the ring, and the president prays for the peaceful repose of his soul. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, we'll start our conversation on state of preparedness in tackling flooding. Do stay tuned. Thank you for staying tuned. Seasonal climate predictions as well as rain patterns and flood outlooks usually give directions to intervening agencies on likely floods and preventive methods. Although the 2025 climate prediction states that rain patterns will be above normal, our correspondent, Ilyasu Ali Yakubu, examines the situation so far vis-a-vis the 2024 flood occurrence.
The 2025 seasonal climate predictions and flood outlook put at least 15 million Nigerians at high risk, and 30 out of the 36 states are expected to be hit, putting more than 1,200 communities at high risk. In view of this scenario, the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, activated all local organizing committees on flood across the country on the possible devastation. Mokwa, a community in Niger State, got washed away by the rain waters recently, with more than 160 people killed and many others still missing. Reports said that 503 households got affected and 3,018 persons were displaced.
We don't know where this flood came from because we don't have any dam close to us.
The flood took us unaware, and before we knew it, it has ravaged many lives and property.
The NEMA is here, and they came with some of the intervention.
The flood victims of Mokwa may be the first set to enjoy the recently established scheme by NEMA to provide insurance or some level of financing to the victims of floods. In Abuja, Ilyasu Aliyakubu, NTA News.
The reports we're getting says flood disasters frequently hit Mokwa local government area due to water releases from the 2 nearby hydroelectric dams. But the recent flood, however, came from an unexpected source, prompting urgent calls for mitigation measures. Let's hear more from Dauda Mohammed.
As survivors of the recent flood disaster try to adjust to life in their present situation, questions are being asked on how the tragedy unfolded and escaped the attention of those saddled with the responsibility of providing early warning and rescue.
The people that come and inform us that rain is coming, water is coming, that's the time that the water just come. The rain has already stopped by then. Nobody accepts that one, that something is coming.
We are not prepared because Mokwa town is not among the town predicted that they are going to experience flooding. What we normally predict is flash flooding that just lasted for a few minutes or a few hours and then it disappears. So the government is working on trying to find out what really happened.
And this brings to bear the fact that we need to keep our waterways very clear. It's very important that we do that. Our town planners need to also live up to expectation when it comes to that.
This has been predicted. There will be flood. It happened last year. It will happen this year. So we don't have to wait for it to happen before we take necessary precaution.
Stakeholders are of the opinion that with new technology like satellite imagery and drones, the Mokwa experience should be a wake-up call to those concerned. In Mina, Dauda Mohammed, NTA News.
Well, to be forewarned is to be forearmed. And we have a guest in the studio, Director of Search and Rescue from NEMA, Air Commodore Kenneth Oyong. Thank you very much for joining us, Air Commodore.
Thank you very much, Ruth. Good evening, Nigerians. It's a pleasure to be here this evening.
All right, the Mokwa situation, if we can use it as a case study because it's still being talked about, is quite an unfortunate one. We know that NEMA consistently go on preparedness mission, but tell us, the measures, the preparedness measures adopted this time around and the strategies, for communities to adopt in terms of preparedness.
Okay, thank you again, Ruth. Before I go ahead, I want to use this opportunity to extend, on behalf of the Director General of NEMA, extend a felicitation in NEMA on the occasion of the celebration of the Eid al-Kabir celebration. And I wish all our Muslim brothers and sisters across the country a very happy and hitch-free Eid celebration. Now, having said that, at the beginning, before the onset of the rainy season, the NIMET, that's a Nigerian Meteorological Agency, provides the seasonal climate prediction to NEMA. That is usually followed by, of course, NISA, which provides us with the annual flood outlook. Now, once these two agencies provide their report, of course, NEMA conducts a scientific analysis of the data they have provided. Subsequently, we are able to come out with all communities across the length and breadth of the country that are likely to be affected by the floods. Depending on, in some cases, some communities expect light risk while some are on high risk. So accordingly, the DG NEMA writes to the state governments of the various states that are likely to be affected so that they can take adequate measures and ensure that these communities are well aware. Subsequently, even after she has written to them, the Department of Disaster Risk Reduction also goes out to all these communities that are affected, to the communities that are predicted or are included in our forecast, conducting what is known as downscaling. By downscaling, we mean going to these communities, meeting the community leaders, meeting individuals, meeting families, informing them and bringing to their awareness that their community is expecting flood. Telling them to take mitigating measures, to reduce their losses. In most cases, we will even prefer that those communities vacate those areas. But in most situations, the individuals or the families will tell you that they cannot afford land in higher areas. So they remain in these places, and unfortunately, until the flood comes in and catch them unawares.
And we saw the unaware situation, Commodore, in Mokwa community, which is quite sad. But tell us, in the aspect of flood resilience and, of course, response, strategies adopted, what happened? What really went wrong? We saw the respondents, the lady there, she said they actually came and, to talk about, to tell them to move, but they took it, they didn't take it seriously. So what usually happens when you go there to tell them about this, taking proactive measures?
Yes, thank you once again, Ruth. In this particular case of Mokwa, initially, when I got to Mokwa, after interacting with the locals, interacting with community leaders, what we gathered was that it was the intense rainfall that, that poured over Mokwa and in most parts of central Nigeria that led to the flood, the flash flood. But however, subsequently after some form of investigation, the DG NISA revealed that there was during the construction of a rail line, which your correspondent showed, or which is shown right now on the screen, during the construction of this rail line, some earth embankment was put across this river, the river that is coming on the screen now, to construct a rail line. Now, the right thing to have done was to build a bridge rather than just putting an embankment of soil to prevent the water. Of course, that's a river, and it's a long river. Rather than stopping the river, rather than building a bridge, that embankment was put there in form of soil, to stop the river. And of course, with time, the water kept building, and from what we gathered, as the water kept building and building, the intense rainfall that occurred on the 29th, of course, the water eventually overpowered that embankment, and that led to the burst of that embankment, of course, taking water downstream on a very high speed in what is known as flash flood. Flash floods are floods that has a high torrent of water moving at a very high speed, carrying along with it debris, and meeting its victims unprepared and unawares, leading to very devastating consequences, as we can see, as happening in Mokwa.
And Commodore, I want to believe the whole nation commiserates, just like NEMA, with the community over what has happened. But we're hearing sad news that some persons are still not found. You are Director of Research and Rescue. What is going on in that aspect of rescuing, people who are still trapped? Very briefly, before we take a break, or you want to respond after the break?
Well, I don't mind if you want me to go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay. Can you repeat the question?
Yes, go ahead. Okay, the question. I said what your director, research, of course, and rescue, we're hearing news that some persons are still trapped. You know, they're not being found, rather. We don't know what is going on in the aspect of rescuing these persons. Is there any hope in sight?
Well, immediately the incident happened, as the director of search and rescue, of course, the DG NEMA, Mrs. Zubaida Umar, gave us her instructions to deploy immediately to Mokwa. And immediately those instructions were received. The MENA Operations Office, which of course Mokwa is under its area of responsibility, deployed and moved with it their mobile intensive care unit, their rapid intervention vehicle, and of course some medics and medical equipment. And of course, myself, as the director of search and rescue, left from Abuja and joined up with him. And immediately that was done, we activated our disaster response unit, the 407 Air Combat Training Group in Kainji. Of course, they gave us an aircraft, an Air Force aircraft, A-29 Super Tucano that went airborne, giving us an aerial view of the affected area. And using the aerial view, and assessing the devastation caused by the flood, I was able to, to direct the ground search and rescue team from NEMA, from the Nigerian Army, and of course from other stakeholders, directing them. We kept on recovering bodies. So as at today is of course the 7th of June, 2025. So as at today, what we have, number of affected people as reported by our correspondent, we have 318. Number of displaced persons, 1,590. Casualties, 162. Number of injured, 11. Of course, those 11 were taken to the hospital and were eventually treated and they were released. Number of fatalities, by fatalities I mean deaths, as of today is 161. Yes. So, while the number of missing people still stands at 84. So we have our search and rescue team.
Okay.
They are still on ground. So as soon as any other person is recovered, our figures or our data, of course, is immediately updated. And we, of course, feed the public with the necessary information.
All right. On that note, let's take that break. Glad to know you're there. Flood prevention and management in Lagos State is a continuous process with diverse strategies. Well, despite the efforts, environment experts say there is need for more concerted approach, particularly with the increasing effects of global warming. Larry Belay reports.
In Lagos, during the heavy rainfall, challenges such as rising sea level, surface water flooding, river floods due to water released from dams rear ugly heads. Aggravating the situation is indiscriminate dumping of refuse, mostly styrofoam and other single-use plastics. For environmentalists, some of these mentioned challenges can be tackled with intentional policies and programs and needed awareness.
Lagos, for instance, knows that it has no choice. Floods will continue to hit Lagos hard every year. The magnitude may differ from year to year. So what adaptation do they want? Get ready and devise means by which you can reduce the impact.
In 2019, Lagos State Resilience Office and Sustainable Action Plan was launched to develop a city resilience strategy, flood support and risk management. In 2024, Lagos State banned the use of styrofoam and other single-use plastics and have started going round closing up establishments that refuse to comply. Wetland cover in Lagos, which is an important buffer against coastal floods, has significantly reduced in many coastal local governments. In Lagos, Larry Belay, NTA News.
Sorry sight to behold there, right? But all eyes are on Kogi State as 9 flood-prone local government areas of the state stand at risk of another disaster. That is if the predicted 2025 flooding comes true. Well, in our next report, Solomon Ayedehi takes a look at the vulnerability of agricultural sector in this perennial disaster.
The confluence of rivers Niger and Benue added to the annual release of water from Lagdo Dam in Cameroon remain factors behind the perennial flooding experience in Kogi State. In 2012, 2018 and 2022, the flood was massive. Houses were submerged, farmlands and livestock washed away, even as sources of livelihood of the people completely destroyed.
Are you talking about the farmlands that are wasted, economic crops, food crops? Are you talking about income generation ability? Are you talking about houses that are submerged in flood? Are you talking about the roads that are cut off, economic activity? So in terms of quantification, we're looking at billions of naira.
The community has started witnessing hunger. The economic activities are dwindling. Their presence in the economic field in agricultural sector is beginning to also diminish.
The state government says it is leveraging the past experiences and early warning signs to activate and build people's resilience, not only to mitigate the expected flood, but also to reduce its impact.
The species of crops that the maturity period is just within 3 months. And with this counting already, by next month, July, people that farm around the coastal area, they would have harvested their crops.
As the season begins, it is hopeful that stakeholders will work together towards mitigating the impact of the impending flood, particularly on agricultural activity. Solomon Ayedehi, NTA News.
Hey, Commander, you're seeing the situation, and the rains will still come, especially for these high-risk areas. This aspect of sensitization, campaign by NEMA, what is the situation right now?
Well, as I speak, our NEMA Department of Disaster Risk Reduction, they are still out there in the field, still calling on people to vacate these flood-prone areas. They should vacate these places. And I want to use this medium to call on state and regional planning bodies. They should please go into action and stop people from developing properties on floodplains. I also want to use this medium to all Nigerians. Please, before you acquire any piece of land, do due diligence by carrying out the detailed investigation and ensuring that the plot of land you are buying is not on a floodplain. You owe yourself that responsibility, because at the end of the day, you are the one on the last chain of events when this flood comes in. So, but on our own part in NEMA, we are doing a lot, of course, after sensitizing the public. We are equally preparing to go ahead with simulation exercises.
Okay.
We go as far as, we identify these communities that are going to be affected by flood. We carry out simulation exercises, in conjunction with communities, with stakeholders, with, up to family level and individuals, simulating with them in the event of a flood. What should you do as a family? What should you do as a community? What should you do? What should your reaction be as a stakeholder? So these are all the actions we are taking to ensure that as much as possible, the effect of flood on our communities, on our families, on individuals is reduced as much as possible. I also want to use this medium to commend the government of Lagos State. I think Lagos State is doing a lot, as you could see. They should, however, intensify effort in clearing their drainages. They should intensify effort in continuously enforcing their developmental plans for the flood-prone areas, restrict people from going there. Also, I also commend the FCT on what they are doing. They go ahead to demolish buildings that are in flood-prone areas. Please, other states should imbibe, these virtues. By so doing, we'll ensure these devastating effects that floods keep causing on our communities year in, year out.
And very briefly, since you mentioned state, we have SEMA, the State Emergency Management Agency across the country. What is the synergy with the local authorities? Because that's where you get to engage these communities appropriately. Very briefly.
Okay, thank you very much. You spoke with the State SEMA for Niger State. We are in contact with them every now and then. Like I stated, once the DG NEMA writes to the state governors of states that are going to be affected, immediately the state governors send it to their SEMA, that's State Emergency Management Agencies, and ask them to go into action. Apart from the state governors writing them, we are also in liaison with them, talking with them on what they are expected to do. You know, in areas where they are overwhelmed, they talk to us and we give them advice. As we speak, as I said, we engage them and we carry them along in all actions that need to be taken. We advise them in issues like somebody just mentioned now, the issue of crops. You know, we try to advise them, okay, due to the predictions, these are the times that the rains are going to come in. As you are in the state, talk to your communities so that they can carry out early harvesting of crops, so that they can mitigate the effect of the flood on crops. You know, we also talk with them to talk to local people so that they can cultivate. Even so, there are some species of crops that can grow underwater. We encourage them to engage to ensure that their farmers cultivate these kinds of crops so that when the floods come in, their losses will be minimized. So these are the kind of things that are doing with local SEMAs.
And I'm sure you speak to them in the language they understand, talking about the local communities, Commodore. But we'll leave the conversation there and we'll continue our own advocacy as a national television, and I'm sure NEMA will do its part. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ruth.
All right, let's take a break. We'll be back. Stay tuned. Thank you for being there. On the global scene, Ghana says it views a Moroccan autonomy plan as the sole basis to settle the Western Sahara dispute within the framework of the United Nations, aligning itself with a growing number of Western, African and Arab countries backing Rabat's position on the dispute. Justin Bem Onye reports.
You very warm greetings from President John Dramani Mahama.
The long frozen conflict pits Morocco, which considers the desert territory as its own, against the Algeria-backed Polisario Front, which seeks an independent state there. Ghana considers the autonomy plan as the only realistic and sustainable basis to a mutually agreed solution to the issue, said a joint statement issued after talks between Ghana's Foreign Minister Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa and his Moroccan counterpart Nasser Bourita in Rabat. The UN should remain the exclusive framework for finding solution to the issue, the statement adds. The position was expressed a few days after similar stands by Kenya and the UK, reflecting a diplomatic shift in Morocco's favor. In another development, a fast-spreading cholera outbreak has hit Sudan, with officials reporting more than 1,000 cases a day in the capital of the war-torn country. The outbreak is centered around the capital, Khartoum, and has spread as many Sudanese who fled the country's war return home. Residents are often only able to find unclean water, which is a dangerous conduit for the disease, as much of the sanitation system has collapsed amid the civil war. Justin Bem-Unyi, NTA News.
And time for sports update. And Ayo Deji is set for us. Ayo.
Thanks, Ruth. We'll begin with football. Portugal captain Cristiano Ronaldo will not play at this month's Club World Cup after turning down offers from participating teams. The 40-year-old is out of contract with Saudi Arabian club Al Nassr at the end of June. Ronaldo posted on his official social media page indicating that the chapter is over following Al Nassr's final league game of the season in May, leading to speculation he was set for move. Away from football, Yannick Sinner believes his battle for supremacy with French Open finalist Carlos Alcaraz could become the defining rivalry of their era and something the sport need in this golden age of players. Sinner beat Novak Djokovic 6-4, 7-5, 7-6 to end the Serbian's quest for a record 25th Grand Slam title. The 23-year-old Sinner, who is Italian, will be seeking his 4th Grand Slam title when he plays against the defending champion Alcaraz on Sunday. In the women's category, Coco Gauff batted back from a set down to beat world number 1 Aryna Sabalenka in the Grand Slam final for a second time in a dramatic victory. The second-ranked American Gauff dug deep to claim a 6-7, 6-2, 6-4 victory and a second major title after also defeating Sabalenka at the 2023 US Open. The 21-year-old who lost the 2022 final to Iga Swiatek, Roland Garros kept her cool to outclass Sabalenka in just over 2 hours and 38 minutes on court Philippe Chatrier. And that's your sports. It's back to Ruth.
Many thanks, Ayo. Let's do weather together, right?
Welcome to the weather forecast for Sunday. Mostly cloudy conditions are expected to most parts of the country, with the exception of parts of Taraba and Adamawa, where thunderstorms are likely during the morning hours. As we go into the afternoon and evening hours, parts of Katsina, Kanu, Gombe, Bauchi, Adamawa, Taraba, Kaduna, the north central are expected to experience thunderstorm with rains, while the southern region, isolated rain showers are expected. Stand by for temperature forecast. Join us again.
And just before we go, let's remind you or tell you, tomorrow, June 8th, is International Best Friends Day. A special day, I guess. Yes, life wouldn't be the same without best friends. They're the friends that can be counted on, to be there at moments' notice, the ones who love, laugh, support, and cherish, in both good and hard times. And this day is all about celebrating them. You may have met your best friend at school, work, through a family member, or even through another friend. Let's face it, it doesn't matter where you met your best friend. A best friend will always be there to listen to you when you're feeling lonely, angry, frustrated, or run out of milk. Celebrate the day by letting your best friend know how much he or she means to you. Far or near, send your best friend a note. Share a memory or two on social media. Invite your best friend to a special dinner. After all, you have so much to gist about, right? Well, for me, I have already forwarded a note to my best friend. And who is that friend? Sorry, it's my little secret. So wishing my best friend the best of the weekend. You can wish yours too. I'm Ruth Aguele, and thanks for being part of your Saturday delight, the Weekend File. Good night.